So,
Are we
guys,
live?
we are live now. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Ali. Welcome to the show, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, or maybe good night, wherever you are logging in from today. I'm Kavita Kanaparthi, your host for Soul Show Season 2, Episode 4, which is happening at 8 p.m. IST and 2:30 p.m. UTC. Um, our host today is Divya Mohan, and I'm going to talk about her in a way that would inspire all of you and to understand what she does, how she does it, and why she does it. Divya Mohan is an engineering leader at Flipkart Labs and a recognized women change maker in Web3. It's not just about her impressive 19 years in the industry, but Divya has mastered a diverse set of skills that include 3D, AR, Web3, blockchain, and NFTs. All of them buzzwords today, but if you really understand what's behind them, you would understand her passion. Her journey is nothing short of extraordinary, spanning from core product design and development to handling global customers, leading teams, and implementing agile processes. What truly sets Divya apart is her passion and relentless focus on setting up and managing processes to achieve optimal results. What she told me in while we were talking just before the show was that her ability or her desire to change things using technology is what drives her. Currently, she's at the forefront of innovation at Flipkart Labs, though she is here to talk about her own personal journey today. There at Flipkart Labs, she leads the groundbreaking Firedrops Web3 FK platform. She's building loyalty and marketplace solutions on chain and scaling 3D AR technologies across all Flipkart verticals. Divya's story is one of dedication, and you will know and you will understand during the show, innovation, and trailblazing in the tech industry. So, with not much more wait, introduce to you Divya Mohan. And Divya, if you could, if you may, please introduce yourself and talk about all the things we talked about, your passions, your what drives you, and what you do apart from your career.
Hey, thank you so much, Kavita, for such lovely introduction. It's great to be on this show. Let me also start by telling thank you to your team and a huge shout out to Ali from your team for getting me here. I had a lot of inhibitions because I've not been on a platform, social platform, and talking live of this nature. This is my very first time debut, I would say. I've been in a lot of events, being speaker, panelist, but not of this nature. And I think Ali has done amazing job consistently, following up with me and convincing me to come on the show. So, starting with huge shout out to Ali for getting me here.
Privilege is all ours. Thank you. Privilege is all ours.
I mean, great team. You have had great team and lovely to be on this show today. Let me start. I think you've pretty much spoken about my career. So let me say what is not written on LinkedIn. I started Web3 out of passion.
Mhm.
If you're following Wall Street or news that I read last week, one of the news spoke about Indian Hawaii being sold at Hawaii slippers being sold for $1,200 for one of these luxury brand, right? One
Wow.
such similar news caught my attention few years back, and that was the news about JPEG being sold for millions of dollars. All these weird-looking monkeys that was making millions of dollars for people. That
Yeah.
is what yeah, when you read that news, it sounds bizarre. That caught my interest. I started digging deeper into it,
Mhm.
and that's how I got into NFTs, started understanding what it is. And coming from a tech background, rather than looking at the trading aspects of it, I was naturally inclined towards what powers it, what goes into making it happen, right? From understanding the first version of smart contracts, I think it was all ETH projects at that point of time. Solana was still catching up. Majority of the popular projects were only Ethereum. So you go to ETHScan, I started looking at what is happening there. Started looking at how nascent it was and how the APIs were evolving, the contracts were evolving, right? From mint to reveal, if you understand technology, you could really make a lot of money at that point of time, because you had all those URL put already, IPFS details put on your smart contracts. Then it started evolving, and they started encrypting it, all these projects encrypting this. So that's how my journey started happening into the space. And I really started going deeper, and my belief in the technology and appreciation for the technology, the way blockchain and all the ecosystem that functions to make it happen, started getting stronger and stronger, right? It became my passion eventually. And that's how also how my transition to labs happened in Flipkart. I was part of a core functional search team where I was driving the search result platform, and Flipkart was thinking of labs as inception and thinking of venturing into Web3. And here I was in personal space doing all these things, and I transitioned out, and that's my journey. So extremely passionate about this space, and also true believer, and I do believe there's a lot of potential that is unexplored at this point of time, right? It's in a state where you're experimenting and exploring. A lot is yet to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Apart from
Is
this, yeah, go ahead, Kavita.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Divya.
Apart from that, from the family, blessed with a beautiful family, I have a 10-year-old. So most of my free time goes in, me playing with him, trying to learn soccer from him, at least educational wise, right? Not playing on the field, but getting the education theory part of it. That's been my pretty much my free time. But I also have passion for people. When I say I had my own journey after kid on my lows, ups and low downs, and how I evolved from that. That also gave me a passion for helping out in the similar state, right? Where if I'm able to unleash and help them to find the best version of themselves, I feel very extremely satisfied, and that is my way of giving back to the society. And that's how life coaching happened to me. So I do some pro bono work around that space also whenever I have free time.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic to hear about that. I mean, soccer. Yes, that's a passion that maybe you should probably get your feet wet too, not just play with him a little bit. But great to hear about your journey. It sounds very similar, very familiar, and we'll talk about that at some point. But you're joining Flipkart Labs. I think Flipkart, itself is lucky enough to have you to with the kind of passion that you drive it with. And how is Flipkart using emerging technologies, by the way, to create innovative experiences? What is
Yes.
it all about?
Sure. See, there are different pockets. Innovation is not something where you have a team and make it happen, right? Of course, you have a dedicated focus. Flipkart
Mm-hmm.
is known for innovation, starting from cash on delivery, or the way they even introduced e-commerce to Indian space, right? Making e-commerce accessible for tier two, tier three. So where
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting is there's a lot of applied innovation happens across Flipkart, right? But I'll give you
Mm-hmm.
innovation from the perspective of labs. And labs is a moonshot factory for Flipkart, where we work on emerging technologies and trends. And where do we come in, right? We use these technologies to bring in immersive experiences to people. What does that mean is, as an e-commerce player, our continuous effort and innovation goes into understanding how to bridge that gap between an online and offline shopping, right? When you go to
Mm-hmm.
offline, you have a touch and feel, you can talk, you can make decisions based on these factors, but that's not there when you come into online. So how do you give this additional data points for the user to make the decision, right? So we come at that last stage of the leg where user is understood, and you can
Mm-hmm.
do that. And that's where 3D AR comes into picture. As part of
Mm-hmm.
3D AR, if you go to Flipkart and search your mobile phone, when you're searching and buying a mobile phone, what is that you like to see and make decision? As you see, of course, the features and all the capabilities that offers, but the look and feel, how thin it is, you want to compare with your phone. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what we do using 3D, right?
Oh,
uh,
fantastic. Okay. Mhm.
So you can see all 360-degree view of it. We detect your current phone and say this is in comparison with your phone. So we give you data points enough so that you can make those decisions. Similarly, using AR, what does AR does is you use your camera, and we go into your real time experience where we overlay that product, so you can see how a coffee table looks in your hall, or how does
Oh,
that fridge look on your kitchen, right?
yeah.
So these helps you make those decisions. So we've been using the technology to help user make those decision
Mhm.
purchases, right? That is where the technology comes in, for 3D AR comes in. And Web3, I think Web3 was a lot experimentation for us also. When we started evaluating and understanding what can we do using it, it's a lot of experimentation. We started collaborating with, our very first experimentation was with Nothing Phone,
Mhm.
where they were launching their first version, and they were also giving this black dot
Mhm.
NFT globally, where
Mhm.
if you pre-book a Nothing Phone, you could actually mint a black dot NFT, which could give you a lot of utility for Nothing
Mm.
brand. And we partnered for the India, and Firedrops, hence Firedrops also, right, became that platform for minting the NFTs. And if you see, 60% of global Nothing NFT was minted solely on our platform. So
Mhm.
that gave us an idea on utility matters to users, right? You're
Mhm.
going for NFT and NFT minting, but why are you trying to take that? As we were talking about, what is it? It's just a JPEG, but why do you need a JPEG? There has to
Yeah.
be some utility for it, right? That was our understanding from that experimentation. From there, we navigated, we experimented with metaverse. Very first time at the Indian e-commerce scale, a metaverse was launched. We launched it for our Diwali, did the 6 days experience where people could go, or it was a little gamified way where people could travel through this space and go in, and you can claim your avatar because you have traveled through space. You have a gender neutral avatar, then go to incubation center, have this, then navigate through brand specific stores, and
Mhm.
that gave us a lot of learning about when you have experiences like that. That drives a lot more engagement. We saw about 6x more engagement. People spent a lot more time
Mhm.
understanding and being in that space. So these experiences gives a lot more engagement time on the platform, right? User spends time. So this way we did a lot of experimentation and finally understood how could we use Web3, and that's where brand loyalty and engagement came into picture, right? Flipkart is not only having 450 million user base, but we also
Mhm.
are house of brands. We have a lot of brands who come and sell products. So the only way for brands interacting with customer has been transactional and one way interaction, right? When I
Right.
say one way interaction, it's ads. You typically
Mhm.
give ads, your customers will see, and that's how they get drawn to the brand. So how could we make this space so that there is a lot more engagement and involvement from the user also? And that's how brand and engagement on Firedrops started happening, where you have gamification way, you have multiple what do I say, multiple interaction touch points
Mhm.
on the platform, where we call it as challenges, where you can come and you can interact about the brand, answer the quiz about the brand, know about the brand, share on the socials, and you start earning rewards,
Right.
right? And you can also have that community. So
Mhm.
that is where we are, and there's a lot more happening on the loyalty aspects, but those are work in progress, so I would not go in detail. So do watch out the Firedrop space, where you can
Sure.
understand a lot more on that.
So absolutely. I mean, I mean, the way you've explained it kind of answers my next question. So I'm not going to go deeper into that, but you talked about transforming, the entire experience for the engagement, and does it drive the loyalty of the customers as well, because you have all these experiences that you're giving them. You have all these, let's say, I mean, earlier it was transactional only, right? I went and looked at the maximum that enticed me to buy would have been, let's say, I have get 5% off or 10% off. This entire engagement, this entire experience that you're giving, has that translated into loyalty of customers? Is the
Um,
entire engagement?
that's a good question, and that is what we are working towards, right? First was understanding and creating the engagement aspects. Loyalty always is a multiple factor contributes to loyalty, and engagement is one of them, right? Real value creation is very important. How do we do
Yeah.
that is what I said, you will see it in next release of ours, right? Like that's the work in progress where
Yeah.
how do you do that value creation and utility which can drive the loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in terms of data, I would not be able to talk, but definitely a gamification way, and brand conscious, bringing in like-minded community together, is an input to loyalty and an up in the loyalty factor.
That's good to know. Because even when I'm trying to buy something online, if I'm able to kind of have a certain, I mean, maybe the day will come when we're actually able to feel the texture, because some tech does exist out there where you can feel the texture of the things and stuff like that. But just the fact that I can actually see, how the phone feels and related in relation to what I already own and all of that, that definitely drives some kind of engagement, which makes me want to come back to Flipkart because I can get that kind of experience again. So, and that basically is loyalty. When you have repeat customers and
Yeah.
things like that, right?
And loyalty is also very contextual, right? For each brand,
Right.
it means different, right? For the internet first brand, how do you drive loyalty is very different from your traditional brands. And it's a
Yeah.
journey and experimentation that you figure out through course of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have been at the forefront of scaling 3D and AI technologies. What are some of the biggest hurdles that you have faced in terms of the way you actually show these, or bring these experiences? How do you create those experiences, and what have been the technology, hurdles in creating these experiences for your customers?
See, when you say we'll divide it into 3D and AR separately, because the technology that powers these two are very
They're
different.
very different, yes.
Yeah, when you say 3D, in a typical 3D environment, just for, I'm making it generic, right? I'm not making it very specific to Flipkart. More from a technology view, I'll give this.
Mm-hmm.
What does it what is needed for 3D is a real-time high performance output that you give to the user device, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that you have this graphics with smooth experience that you need to power, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but you're powering on a mobile which is having limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
But these are 3D assets, which means they're inherently very heavy. So now you'll
Right.
have to really go deeper onto these aspects where you understand the domain itself, the 3D domain itself, and bring in these technical optimizations, right? Algorithms and optimizations that can actually ensure that you're able to get that on the mobile device, immaterial of it. Because when you're rotating and seeing, you don't want the glitches just because it is having that high graphics or high performance. The user
Right.
will not appreciate it. So you need to balance that, and that is where the actual challenge comes in. How do you ensure you strike that balance, and what are the kind of technology optimizations you do, or tech optimizations you do to ensure that? So you have to two aspects there, right? Tech optimizations and this going in. And when it comes to AR is totally different. In
Right.
AR, you're accessing your camera, right? That
Mm-hmm.
means your camera permissions, understanding your camera, those aspects come into picture.
Yeah.
And then what you're doing is you're capturing this real-time view of a user, right? It could be your
Mm-hmm.
living space, bedroom, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're trying to overlay the cat the uh, your fridge or whatever the item you're selected onto your real world space, right? Which means that you can't have a coffee table floating somewhere in the roof. So you need to really understand
That would be
the
interesting.
yes, you need to understand the ground, right? You need to detect, we call it horizontal plane in AR term, right? You need to
Mhm.
understand what is the horizontal plane. You need to understand where it intersects, and then you can go and place a fresh. So there's a lot of these algorithms, and as I said, right, understanding it also involves a lot of physics and math, in order to
Yeah.
go deeper
Yeah.
make that happen. So I would say deep tech understanding is very key for whoever immaterial of which platform they're operating. If you're going into 3D AR space, you need to go deeper on understanding these, right? These are general things. Apart from
Yes.
this, I'll also say interoperability, right? You need
Mhm.
to support different kind of devices. You're supporting Android, iOS. How do you make it compatible on all those devices? Then you
Right.
have all the different versions of Android, all the different versions of iOS. So how do
Right.
you ensure you support all of these, and as I said, with limited resource on the mobile on which you're doing. So these are the main challenges that you'll have to handle when you're dealing with the space. Kavita? Hey, I think there is a glitch, so let's wait.
So, everyone, I believe there is a glitch. So, like, boss will be just back in the next 5 minutes. So, like, Divya, I believe she is back. We'll just make sure that she joins in the next 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so she is
Thank
back.
you.
Hey,
Thank you,
Kavita.
Ali. Thank you. Yes, some tech glitches. What can I say? As we talk, I was just asking you about, inclusivity and, talking about people with different handsets. You brought up an interesting, point that, people with different iOS versions and different Android versions, you will need to address all of that. And imagine if people with the lower versions of iOS are unable to access your website just the same as somebody else with the higher version of the handset or whatever it is, then it looks like you don't care about the loyalty of the customers, right? So these are serious challenges that anybody in innovation has to face, and they don't realize that these are serious tech challenges because this is new technology, whether it's web3 or AR. 3D existed for quite some time, but AR and all these are serious technologies and very new technologies that you have to address them on so many levels. And I'm glad you brought it up so you can tell the people listening to us today that everybody in that you do care about your customers, and these are hurdles that you have to jump over and get over, to make sure that everybody is included in this experience, right? And thank you for bringing that up. And that is because not everybody understands all that goes behind bringing something to everybody across the platforms. Thank you so much for bringing that up because I know eventually Solvers is going to face that too. And we want to bring up, have our viewers understand that tech is serious business in the back end. So experience,
Kavita,
innovation, compliance, and security. The key, some of the key pillars that, as an innovator and the companies that, while we balance all of these things, how can a company, let's say startup or an enterprise, a large enterprise, capitalize on the opportunities that are rapidly evolving
in the innovation space is what you're talking about. Like,
in
how
the
do we
innovation space? Yes, yeah, yeah.
um, see? You're basically telling how do you always stay ahead of the curve, right?
Yes, yes.
I think it has multiple facets, I would say, right? One is definitely when we say innovation, the key thing is the technology aspects of it, right? Being apprised, understanding of what is happening in the technology front, and how could it solve your customer problem. Everything starts with your customer first, right? It is technology in itself is not great, but understanding what problem of your customer can this technology solve. The thought starts from there, and marrying the technology to that problem is where it all starts. But just going into the innovation space, I think it is about being apprised and being ahead of the curve, being well informed, and having investment in those areas is very key thing, right? And also
Mhm.
quick iteration and experimentation. How quick you can iterate and experiment to see what works and what doesn't work. It's the same for the startup, it's same for the enterprise. Understanding your MVP becomes very key thing. So that is important. But I think when
Mhm.
you're going into something so nascent, because you're in the innovation space, example, let's take Web3 itself, right?
Mhm.
There are other pillars also which you need to look at, right? And one
Right.
strongest pillar is security. I think we're all aware of last week's incident around the world, right? There was
Yes.
Microsoft outage, there was India, very big, right? The Wazir X
A Zerex
235
one.
billion. Yeah. I mean, it talks about the need and emphasis that is needed, no matter the org size or what you're giving. Security becomes very important, right? And it has to
Right.
be layered at every single stage that you're doing, right? Thinking of proactive scanning vulnerabilities, looking at it, having your automating tools, auditing, all aspects, right? It is just
Right.
not one last step, but at every layer you need to have security embedded. And third
Mhm.
aspect, let's say compliance, working with your local bodies and regulatories is very important, right? Being within the limit is very important. Knowing what is limit, especially in Web3 space, I will say regulatory itself is so open, can be interpreted in a any ways, right? And especially India,
Right.
I think India is a solid example where we are. But that is where I would appreciate CoinDCX, the founders going and working with the government, trying to create awareness so that the policy makers know what it is, right? So your
Mhm.
compliance becomes important. And I think governance and integrated governance, I would say it is just not the governance but integrated governance of all these things coming together, and then experimenting and having stakeholders from each of these and forming a team to take it further, that becomes very important. So it's just not technology always.
Absolutely. I mean, very key point here that I would take away from what you said is that whether it is a startup or a big enterprise, understand what your MVP is and how it actually solves a problem. Because sometimes what happens is when you are a large enterprise, you're driven by the data that you have. You may not be looking at how the new things that you're developing actually impact your customers or the changes that they bring. And it is key to kind of ensure that you are mindful of these at every step of the way. Security, compliance, innovation, all of them have to be going hand in hand. And the big question here, what are the opportunities that you see for Web3 and especially for India?
Yeah, great question. And I think this answer is can be interpreted in multiple ways, right? I'll purely give you my view here.
Mhm.
Especially, I'll divide the space into B2C and B2B, right? If you see,
Mhm.
most of the Web3 projects or dabs or things are happening on the B2C space. Uh,
Mhm.
there's a lot of investment that's gone in. Last year the investment had slowed down. I think this March April, if you see the stats, it shows again VCs coming out there and investing. Some of the fundamental area, going back to last week's, security has an aspect itself, right? Your multi-seg, your MPCs, evolved version and advanced version, your security is one key thing. Your
Mhm.
fundamental networking aspects, your layer ones, value added layer ones or optimized layer ones, I think a lot of those are opportunity that exist. At the same time, I will also say opportunity in terms of governance and standards, right? When a technology is evolving, everyone have their own perspective, right?
Right.
Then cross platform, cross collaborations becomes very difficult, right? And we go
Mhm.
to a juncture where then we start thinking. So having that standards and standard bodies also is very big opportunity that exists. It is happening at bits and pieces, but there is no one governing or solely managed standard body where everyone subscribe to, right? So that unified standard body and contribution to that is an opportunity. Then I would say one another area I mentioned about B2B, because I've not heard much, but I believe B2B and B2B2C is an opportunity that is very skewed and spoken about, but that is the latent need, and that is where a lot of opportunity exists, right? Your
Yeah.
enterprises, your banking, your finances, because there are your identity management systems, you have your cross collaboration platforms happening, but that also the latent need is about how do you have this identity management without revealing, how do you use and interact and cross collaborate, which means you don't share your PII information, right? That is where your decentralized identification systems comes into picture, your zero knowledge proof comes into picture. That
Yeah.
means that at a scale it is, though the everyone in the space are talking about B2C, this is also going to explode, and this is going to bring huge opportunity, right, for India
Yeah.
and also globally. And I think this is where next few years the concentration will start
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And I'll also talk in terms of government of India. I'll draw some parallels with cloud, right? Cloud was also in a similar hype cycle.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
cloud evolved, India, we did DigiLocker, we did a lot of things. We didn't go to Microsoft Azure or GCP, right? All of your Indian apps are deployed on India's very own cloud, which is Meghdut, developed by
Mhm.
NPCI. Which,
Mhm.
drawing parallels from that, I see government of India is also will think in terms of blockchain, and there will be huge investments where a government entity may go into developing L1s, or collaborate with Make in India kind of a thing, because you're not going to have your validator node sitting across the globe and doing it for you when you're going to move your, property. Like Mumbai started initiating these, they're moving from paper to digital, right, where they got their property papers into blockchain. So if you're going to do at a India scale, I think these opportunity exist, and government of India is also going to bring in a lot of investments and collaboration with the startups, which is Make in India, and that lies a huge opportunity for the India. That is what I foresee.
That is a lot of opportunity and hope, and I really, um, just to bring in that, just this morning when we were discussing with the team, we were talking about all the, the projects that are so skewed in terms of, whether it is the backing of the people that back technology, and who are driving the technology, and the people that are on the crypto side of things, is very skewed, right? The innovation, and the people who are buying and selling crypto, who look at the next meme coin or look at the next 100x, and they lose all their money eventually, because they don't understand that this hype is not going to sustain. And once they may get lucky and make, win 10 times or 20 times or 100 times sometimes, and the bet on the next token, which actually is going to throw them out completely. And that happens because they're not understanding what's actually happening, in the space, whether it is a crypto space or is an innovation space. And the numbers are
Absolutely.
very, very skewed.
Yeah.
And the most, when I asked the team, what do you think, what do you think people should look for, and what are the most sustainable projects? And the first thing that they mentioned was, you should look at if it's an L1 or an L2. L1s are going to be fewer, L2s are going to be, far more, and now we have L3s as well, right? We need to look at whether there's an L2 behind this, token that is being launched, or the next solution that is being produced, or the next product or the service that is being driven by it. That is what we need to look at. And for anybody who's in Web3, you have to look at what drives that particular company, or are they just looking at pulling in money, raising money, and then disappearing one day, even without a token. There are a lot of companies out there. They say they have a white paper, they have a solution kind of a thing that talks about all these Web3. So, what is your suggestion, for people out there in the innovation space, in the investment space, and also the retail investor? What would you say to them as to what to look for to safeguard themselves and focus more on the real stuff behind, which is the technology?
I would say your research, right? Your research is the key. Understanding the factors that is contributing to understanding, when I say research, understanding your founders who are, starting certain new project. What is their vision? What is their background? And if you believe in that vision, then go for it. Don't go for it because it is hyped, right? We have a lot of examples, which came and everyone spoke about it and it's just gone. But the ones that is sustained is the ones which had that solid vision and solid backing, and your founders play a very key role, right?
Mhm.
They believing in that project, and being there is what gives you that long term vision. So research is the key, I would say, wherever you're investing. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not a trading person, I'm a tech person, but I would
Yes.
say fundamentals are the same, right? Your
Mhm.
fundamentals are the same. Of
Mhm.
course, your short term trading, etc., operates on a different data points and signals. That is very different. But if you're in there for a long term, your
Mhm.
research is solid, and that's what you have to do, and then go in with your hard-earned money, right? Otherwise, don't invest your money, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that goes, by the way, guys, whether you're a retail investor or it's going to be an institutional investor. I'm sure the institutional investors are doing a little bit more research, and hopefully they're not being fooled by all the, I would say, the data rooms that are being probably also loaded with information that probably eventually goes to nothing. But having said that, we kind of diverted a little bit into because that was a burning question that has been to the day. I know we have talked to a few people in the team as well.
Kavita, I
Um,
would ask your opinion on this, right? Being on the ground, how do you see and what is your perspective here?
oh wow, that that turned quickly at me. Divya, that's I concur with a lot of things that you spoke about, whether it is innovation, whether it is security, or whether it is, because that is what we're driving. We talk about the product that Solvers is building, um, you know, is to empower the customer to ensure that whether it, whatever they're doing is safeguarded. Let's say it's an innovation. Let's talk in terms of, all the things that we've been talking about. Let's say it's in terms of innovation. They can safeguard their innovation by giving it an ID and putting into their wallet. And sometimes we get carried away and we post on social media something that we are, probably eventually applying for an IP or a trademark or something like that, and we realize, oops, it's already out there. Somebody must have taken a picture of it. So the best thing you want to do is probably take a picture of it yourself and make an NFT out of it and safeguard it. So when it comes to proving that you are the first person to actually talk about it, you have proof. You have written proof. Just the same way, they ask you for, do you have proof on a piece of paper? You have proof on social media.
Yeah.
So there is so many things that you can actually do with technology that today that we don't realize, and there is such huge opportunity end to end. And protect your data. What we're building is a super wallet, and you can protect your data. You can protect your identity and all of that. The intensity of things that you do, including what you're doing at Fire Drops, Divya, um, is it goes beyond the basics, goes beyond the basics that we used to worry about in Web 2 and in Web 1, and the lack of connectivity. Whatever you're doing today in innovation connects to what I'm doing today in innovation. That is the beauty of the way blockchain technologies are going to be in a
Interconnect.
way all the innovations are going to be interoperable, are going to be a mesh, right? which was very different to what was in Web2 innovations. Not everybody required email, not everybody, but today we do use email. Not everybody required a database, but everybody uses database today. But it took a long time for that to kind of come into play. But today we realize that if you have a self-sovereign identity, you can actually go and get your loyalty points, that FireDrop does, on on in their wallet, right? There's a lot of interoperability, there's a lot of cross functionality that is happening in Web3 world. So when you're innovating, when you are, the opportunities are endless. Don't think that an idea that you have is useless, that somebody else has already done it, but go out there and make it slightly different and make it worthwhile and make it adoptable. And that is what I would tell the viewers out there today. Hopefully it's something that resonates with you.
Yeah, I think for me, the key takeaway is whatever idea you have, find the differentiator and make it happen. I
Yes,
believe
yeah,
it has that. Yeah. Very nicely
absolutely.
said, Kavita.
Thank you, Divya. I think we do need to have our own personal conversations eventually, but I'm loving this conversation because I want to know a little bit more about the fire drops that Flipkart is doing, FlipTap Labs that your heading is doing, and explain it, how it's revolutionizing the digital loyalty and marketplace solutions.
Sure. I think I kind of gave a context of what we tried to do and how we navigated experimenting. So I wouldn't repeat that, but I'll try to highlight something that is very innovative, right? Bringing Web3 brand loyalty and engagement at a scale of e-commerce in itself is innovation, I would say. But
Yeah.
apart from having this, some of the research studies showed that you have a lot of promotion codes or rewards that you give to users, right? And
Hmm.
research says that 61% of these, go unused. It's a huge investment made by brands,
Hmm.
right? Money put on the table, but that is going unused because probably someone who is purchasing a Nike shoe and getting a discount code, he's already purchased that. He doesn't want to use it, right?
Hmm.
So what we made is we brought in a reward store concept. So folks, if you have not checked out, I'll say please go check out. It's a very first time, not only in India but across the globe also, right? Now you have this unused discount code. You can go, actually it is on chain, so you can go and actually put a value for it and sell it. For the very first time, you're bringing in the monetization aspect, right?
Yes.
So you can go to
Yes.
a reward store, you have a 2000, you say I don't need, so probably I'll sell it for 1000. And Kavita is looking for buying a Nike shoe, she gets a 1000 discount, so Kavita purchases it from me, uses that code. Kavita is happy, I'm happy, brand is happy, right? That way we are driving more conversion, right, for the brands. The
Yeah.
rewards are converted. At the
Yeah.
same time, monetization was not an angle that an e-commerce customer used to get, right? The rewards are mostly your discount codes or
The
your
last
cards.
of the time. Yes.
Correct, correct. So, so now you have some monetization aspect coming. So, I think this is the unique feature that has also come in, right? And
Right.
I've not heard any other e-commerce having this. Of course, we do NFT trading. You do a lot of those trading, but coming at a scale of e-commerce, I think this is the first time where Flipkart has brought this out. So that is the innovation, I would say, apart from the brand loyalty gamification way of engaging with the brands, taking part and being part of the community. Apart from that, this is the key thing.
That's great to hear. What that does is not just create value for money, which is, I have earned. I could look at it as, receiving 1,000 rupee discount or $1,000 discount, whatever it is, and then the currency on something that I already bought. So money is in my pocket. Let's say I spent about 10,000 of whatever, in currencies that I have, and you gave me a 2,000 points that are valued at 2,000 rupees. And I could look at that. I don't need the 2,000. I've actually bought everything, only for 9,000, and that's value for money. So it brings them back to buy from you. And this is great value for money and great value for the customer. And everybody should go out there and check out the fire drops, guys. This is gold or diamonds or platinum, whatever you might want to say. And the way you can actually, there's fluidity in the entire process. which is something that every Web3 company should desire to be doing, and bringing value to the customer. If you are just going to be putting points on the chain, it didn't make any sense without bringing certain value to it. And I'm really happy that you're able to share that with everybody here on the show today. And that brings us to rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'll try to be rapid.
Okay. So in the Web3, is it Web3 or AR? Which one do you think is going to be the next big bet, big breakthrough?
Um, I believe eventually everything will subside and there are holistic solutions, but uh, you know the answer. It's always going to be Web3 for me.
Okay. Is it because of your passion is in Web3, or is it because you think the
The
opportunities are?
potential. See, AR is going to evolve into your XR and MR, and then value creation in those space also is going to happen through blockchain, because this is where the ownership, this is where transfer of assets, everything happens. So underneath technology that will power the value creation will always be Web3, and hence Web3.
Fantastic. And you mentioned that you love to solve problems with technology. And if you could solve one global issue with technology, what would it be?
Um, See, I'm born and brought up in Bangalore, and throughout my existence of life, this summer has been the worst summer for me since my existence, right? Which means climate change, and
Mhm.
I would say climate change is a problem that I would love to solve using technology, right? Could be renewable technology or more innovation in that renewable energy space, and solving climate change would be a priority at this stage.
You're my lady, and I will talk to you a little bit more about that. That is one of the biggest issues that I would love to solve, and I would love to pick your brain on
We should
that.
talk.
We should talk. uh, okay, the next thing is top advice for aspiring women, including me. Women tech leaders in Web3 and AR.
Um, this is something I'm trying out, so I would say the same, right?
Mhm.
I'm work in progress, and I would share that, keep experimenting, and keep upgrading yourself, right? Invest in yourself. Could be tech skills, soft skills, whatever domain you're in. Keep learning and growing, and don't be afraid to take new bets, take risk, right? That is where your success lies. To keep experimenting and keep doing it. And as women, I will also say, please don't fall into perfection trap. Your bar is very high, so don't try to meet it. It's fine. It's okay to be there and do things. So don't fall into the perfection trap.
Which is very, I would say, the one of the most the traps, like you said, you fall into is that because you're a woman, you need to prove yourself harder and harder, and that is what we fall into. We're trying to be better and
Correct.
more productive than our counterparts, and that is one thing. Thank you for that. I know I will remember that, and I'll definitely make a note of it on and put it on my board. Thank you. What is the tech trend that you think will dominate in the next 5 years?
I think that's obvious. It's going to be everything around Gen AI. I think it's needless to say. I'm not telling Web3, but I think the way AI and Gen AI has evolved last 2 years, it's all been that, right? And next 5 years, what you will see is um, uh, personalization space, immersive experience with AI, right? Gen AI is what is going to be very big, and that's what is going
Mhm.
to.
Okay. Okay. And who is your biggest inspiration in tech industry?
Wow, that's yeah, a lot of names, but if I'll have to say one name, I'll say a women tech leader, right? And she is Arundhati Bhattacharya.
Okay.
She is the first chair person for SBI, and she was the one who played a pivotal role in bringing digital transformation for the bank. And she's retired from the banking space, and currently she is the CEO of Salesforce. She's heading the India Salesforce. So she's done some amazing work, and she really inspires me.
And who is your biggest inspiration in the non?
I didn't hear you, Kavita.
I said, who is the biggest inspiration to you in the non-tech industry? I mean,
Non-tech.
in generally your life, like you're somebody that inspires you, that kind of a thing.
I think the first inspiration always is something from the family, right? For me, it's been my mother, right? No matter what, she kept going, and that's what inspired me. So if you say non-tech and very close, I will say it's my mother. She's given me that ability to navigate through life no matter what.
That's $1 million answer right there. And you don't need to be Kaun Banega Crorepati or any of those. That's $1 million answer right there. And I would say the same. Somebody asked me that question, and definitely, I think this is a very interesting conversation, and one of the funnest conversations I've had in a very long time with anybody in tech.
Thanks,
Um,
thanks. Good.
Now it's also time to hear from the audience, and let me see if there are any questions. And I think one thing that people want to know from you, Divya, is you mentioned that you have an 10-year-old. So what is it that you would like for him to notice and lean towards in the tech, in the near future? Because tech plays such a big role in our lives today, right? And especially we have straddled the web 1 to web 2 to now to the web 3, right? But the younger kids are only going to be seeing mostly some web 2 and then mostly web 3. What is your advice to parents out there who are kind of probably struggling to understand how to advise their kids and drive them to safely adopt the web3 solutions as they grow into this world?
Um, I have a very unconventional thought here, right? For us, understanding Web 1, then Web 2, then Web 3 was important, right? We were from the different era. But I think these kids are digital age kids, right? Probably they understand Web 2 and Web 3 and Web 3 even better than parents themselves, right? So for me, as a parent, it has always been giving the kid about life skills rather than telling do's and don'ts of technology or pushing to adapting a technology. I think they will figure and navigate it out. So that is my take. Just make them strong enough to understand and build the life skills, and they will navigate through rest. Of course, certain safe practices is needed, but I will not push them into adapting to any technology. They'll figure their way. We figured our way. They will figure their way.
Beautifully said again, beautifully said. And I have an 8-year-old myself. And that's exactly, sometimes some of the things he comes to me with, and being a techie person myself, and I'm like, how do you know that already? And
Absolutely.
right, then that is exactly, and leaving your kids to figure it out is probably the best thing to do, and we come from the worrying parent syndrome that our parents had for us, as to where we're going to go with all these tech that gadgets and everything that we had access to, which they didn't have access to. But your advice is awesome, and I said completely second that. Thank you so much, Divya, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And if there are no more questions today, I would like to pick your brain on one last thing,
Sure,
right?
Kavita.
Yeah. So you mentioned when we were talking about, how important it is for every innovator to understand the basics and understand what innovations lead to, right? And in terms of whether it's 3D or AR or anything like that. 3D is in a very old one, and AR is the newest one. AR is going to go into XR and all of that, right? How has your journey been from one technology to the next technology? What made you leap from one to one? And what was your trepidation in terms of can you make it or not? As techie, it is very difficult for us to understand whether we are leaping too fast or whether we are falling behind.
Wow. I think this is the most difficult question, Kavita. See, I think I would have a little biasness here, right? Because For me, innovation happens sitting in the safe environment of Flipkart, right? When you don't have a cushion like that, the answers and what you decision making and how you navigate and how you think is very different from where you sit there. When you sit there in a space like that, right?
Mhm.
Because you have a team of experts who does research, where you have resources at your availability, right? As I said,
Right.
it's the entire team coming together. There are people who knows what is happening in terms of emerging space, and there's a group, sorry, there's a group that has a strategy where we are heading towards. And you sit and as a group you brainstorm and then take a bet. Of course, I would say that is the differentiator when you go with a startup versus when you sit in a safe space like Flipkart and try to innovate, right? But what is common is, if you're not sure, also, if you understand, as I said, take it from the customer perspective, or whatever your product value add is, what is that you're trying to create, right? That would be your biggest strategy. And where is it in the market? What is the need that you're filling in the market? Understanding and working backwards, and quick iteration, experimenting and realigning. One thing I would say, innovation, no matter where it is, you'll have to keep progressing and making strategies to ensure that progress happens, right? Not being stuck
Yeah.
solving there, I would say, is one big takeaway for me, right? And I think it is
Mhm.
the same for every innovator, whether you're in startup space, enterprise, or anywhere sitting. Navigating through reworking your strategies or pivoting your goals and making progress becomes very important. Keep experimenting to find the right thing.
Fantastic. Um, that was my question. That was my personal question for you, and I wanted to, keep it to the last because that is, um, there's so many times that we think about whether what we're doing is going in the right direction
Right.
or not, and then we look to pivot. When we look to pivot, there's always a serious doubt that whether we're going to be worse off, whether we're going to be, and with all the new emerging technologies, tech leaders, are talking about it and letting people know that take the chance, allows people to explore, allows people to experiment, and only through that we're going to have more and more newer technologies happening. And
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure. It's been a
I'll add
pleasure.
one more point, Kavita, here.
Yes,
I
please,
think apart
please.
from the data driven decisions and everything we spoke about, right, pivoting and everything, I think
Hmm.
sometimes it is also conviction, the conviction you
Yes,
have on what you're doing. I think that
yes.
also makes a very big differentiator. If you believe in it and have that conviction, I think you'll figure that out.
Absolutely. And you take me, I've gone from different industries, and when I believe in something, it's just been, zero to 100 within seconds, about how the thought frames and how the idea comes and how the entire thing takes shape. It is that conviction, it is that want to solve something, and things fall in place, is what I say. And what an amazing conversation. I think I haven't smiled this much during a conversation, and I haven't had this much fun. And you make for not just a great leader, you make for a great inspiring leader, Divya.
Hey,
And I'm
thanks.
much inspired, with having talked to you today. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you, Ali, for chasing her for from December until July.
July. Yeah.
Uh, yes, and making it happen. And I think we have few more conversations to be had, Divya. We will welcome you back onto the show, maybe season three. We're going to have a different theme for season three, and we're going to welcome you for season three again. So we look forward to that. And with that, I bid adieu. Thank you so much, and good luck. We look forward to more awesome things coming out from the Flipkart Labs under your leadership. Thank you
Hey,
so much.
thank you so much, Kavita. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Good
a nice
night.
day.
Good morning and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Kavita, your host, signing off from Soul Show Season 2, Episode 4 with Divya Mohun of Flipkart. Thank you. And somebody says, thank you, Divya, for sharing. Great session. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye
With that,
bye.
we say good night. Thank you.